RFID, is being tested and, frankly, proven to seriously boost the security and efficiency of the pharma supply chain.
Pass it through an RFID reader, like a tunnel or gate, and capture the data from all the tags inside simultaneously, without opening a thing.
Welcome to this special podcast episode where we explore technology in the pharmaceutical supply chain. Today, we're thrilled to share groundbreaking findings from a recent study at Michigan State University's Axia Institute. This study highlights the immense benefits of using RFID technology on drug cases and smaller packs. So let's dive in and discover how RFID is making the pharmaceutical supply chain more efficient and safer than ever before.
You probably don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but knowing exactly where your medications are, where they've been and where they're going, that whole journey is just, well, absolutely critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, lurking behind the scenes in that supply chain, you've got the real dangers of counterfeit drugs and just errors that could be harmful.
It's a huge challenge, and one the industry and regulators have been grappling with for decades, really, because patient safety is right at the end of that chain.
Exactly. The integrity of that chain is everything.
And that's really the core of what we're diving into today. We're looking at how one specific technology, radio frequency identification, RFID, is being tested and, frankly, proven to seriously boost the security and efficiency of the pharma supply chain.
Yeah.
Maybe even pushing beyond what's required now.
Mm-hmm. And our main source for this is a pretty detailed pilot study report from the Axia Institute at Michigan State University. They worked with some big names like Cencora and Fresenius Kabi.
Right.
And they were looking specifically at how RAIN RFID, that's a type of RFID, can enhance the current rules, the Drug Supply Chain Security Act, or DSCSA.
Okay, so our mission today basically is to kind of trace the history here, understand how RFID is different from, say, barcodes, dig into what this, real-world pilot actually did and found the important stuff.
The aha moments, yeah.
Exactly. And then look at the bigger picture. What does it mean for keeping patients safe and getting medicines where they need to go? Okay, let's unpack this.
All right, so the fundamental problem, the challenge in drug supply chain security, it's always been about making sure only legit drugs get to patients and keeping the fakes out.
Yeah, and this isn't a new problem, right? There were older attempts like the Prescription Drug Marketing Act back in '87. That required a paper trail, a pedigree.
Right, and then states tried their own electronic pedigree laws.
Which must have been a nightmare.
Oh, totally impractical. Imagine trying to manage different rules in every state for drugs moving nationwide.
Yeah.
Just didn't scale.
And what's kind of fascinating is way back in 2004, the FDA put out this report on counterfeit drugs. Mm-hmm. And even then, they were pointing to RFID as a potential technology for that electronic pedigree needed to, really tackle the problem.
Yeah, it's been on the radar for a long time. Mm-hmm. So fast forward to 2013, and that's when we get the DSCSA, the Drug Supply Chain Security Act. That's the standard we have now.
Okay. And what does that require today?
So it mandates a 2D data matrix barcode. It has to be on the smallest unit you can sell, like the vial or the box.
And that barcode holds specific info.
Yep. The National Drug Code, NDC, a unique serial number for that specific item, the lot number, and the expiration date, key identifiers.
And the industry's put a ton of work into getting this implemented, right? It's officially live now after a kind of stabilization period.
It is. It was a massive undertaking. But while those barcodes give you the data, they do have limitations, especially in busy warehouses.
Like what?
Well, the big one is line of sight. You physically have to see the barcode with a scanner.
Ah, so you might have to open boxes, handle individual items.
Exactly, which is slow. It takes labor. And honestly, you can miss scans or make errors, especially if you're dealing with, huge volumes or tightly packed products.
And that's kind of the opening where this pilot study suggests RFID can make a difference. So let's talk about RFID itself. What is it in simple terms?
Okay, RFID, radio frequency identification. It just uses radio waves to grab information from a tag. This study used passive ultra-high frequency RFID, often called RAIN RFID.
Passive means no battery.
Exactly. They're small, no battery needed, and they can hold that key info, like the lot number and expiry date, encoded electronically.
So how is that fundamentally different from scanning a barcode? What's the real advantage?
The game changer is how you read them. RFID lets you do automated bulk reading without line of sight.
Wait, so you can scan a whole piece at once, or even a pallet?
Yes. You can pass it through an RFID reader, like a tunnel or gate, and capture the data from all the tags inside simultaneously without opening a thing. That's huge for logistics. Speed, accuracy. It transforms things.
Okay, if it's that powerful, why isn't it everywhere in pharma already? What held it back?
Well, there have been some hurdles. Technical stuff like radio waves getting blocked or interfered with by certain materials like liquids or metals sometimes.
Right.
And also just the complexity. Integrating this new tech into the existing, very complex IT systems and business processes across all the different partners in the supply chain, manufacturers, wholesalers, pharmacies, that's a big lift.
Which is exactly why this Axia Institute pilot seems so important. They tackled it in the real world.
Exactly. It was a multi-phase project. Phase 1 was more like a lab test, proving the tech worked, showing they could get high read rates on different kinds of products.
But phase 2, the focus of our deep dive, that really scaled things up, testing it in actual operational settings with real companies.
Yes. And the partners were absolutely crucial. Axia Institute, they kind of played the role of the manufacturer and the pharmacy in their labs. But Cencora, a major wholesaler, they offered up their actual distribution center in Williamston, Michigan, a real working warehouse.
Wow, okay.
And Fresenius Kabi, who actually already use RFID on some of their products, they supplied the goods. We're talking 4 full pallets of drugs.
4 pallets. How many individual items is that?
It was 6,920 individual units. Things like oxytocin, hydrolysine, ceftriaxone, iodixonol. So a mix of different drug types and packaging.
And the tech providers were involved too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
CCL, they provided the RFID tags themselves and this specialized automated reader tunnel. They also simulated the local software like the ERP system each partner would use.
Okay.
And you had GS1 US for standards guidance, plus companies like IntelliGarden and Terra's Vision Group contributing as well. It was a real collaborative effort.
So they essentially mimicked the entire journey. Products got tagged and packed at the manufacturer lab.
Right. Each item got its unique serial number, an SGTIN. Cases and pallets got their identifiers, SSCCs. And importantly, electronic records EPCIS files were created for every step, documenting what happened.
Then off to the real Cencora warehouse. What happened there?
So when the cases arrived, they were scanned going through that RFID tunnel. And the system instantly checked the contents against the electronic data, the EPCIS file that was sent ahead. Real-time validation.
Okay.
Then they did what wholesalers do. They opened the cases, took out individual units, and mixed them into different sized plastic totes to create 6 unique simulated pharmacy orders.
So mimicking fulfilling specific pharmacy requests.
Exactly. These totes got new ID numbers, new SSCCs, and then as these totes were shipped out to the pharmacy, they went through the RFID tunnel again.
Checking them again.
Yep. Validating the contents of each tote against what was supposed to be in that specific pharmacy order. Another layer of verification before it even left the building.
And then finally back to the Axia lab acting as the pharmacy.
Right. The totes arrive, go through the tunnel one last time upon receipt, and again the system validates what arrived against the expected EPCIS data for that order. So you have this complete closed loop, simulating manufacturer to wholesaler to pharmacy receiving.
And the tech itself, they use those passive UHF tags encoded with the GTIN serial lot expiry.
And the key piece of hardware was that CCL RFID tunnel. It's designed specifically to read lots of tags at once, but also shield them to prevent stray reads from nearby items. Accuracy is paramount.
Makes sense.
And one small but crucial detail, they actually did tests beforehand to figure out the best place to put the RFID tag on different types of packaging vials, cartons, etc. That groundwork helps ensure you get good reads in the real world, aiming for over 2 meters read range, even through packaging.
Okay, so a very thorough real-world simulation with thousands of items moving between different locations, tracked electronically. What did they find? What were the big results, the headlines?
Well, the biggest headline, the most impressive outcome really, was achieving 100% traceability.
100%. Across all 6,920 units.
Across the entire process, from start to finish. Every single tagged item was accounted for at every checkpoint.
That's remarkable. But, things go wrong in supply chains. Were there errors? Did the system catch them?
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting. They documented about 20 exceptions, errors, during the whole process.
Okay.
But here's a critical part. Because the RFID system gives you that immediate feedback right when the scan happens.
Instantly.
Instantly. These errors were flagged and corrected in real time. right there, on the spot, before that tote or case moved any further.
So errors didn't propagate downstream.
Exactly. It stopped problems in their tracks. They mentioned it actually made the process feel surprisingly smooth compared to how manual checks might go, because issues were nipped in the bud.
So it's not just tracking. It's like an active error prevention and correction system baked in.
That's a great way to put it. The pilot really proved that RAIN RFID is a scalable complement to the barcodes we have now. It boosts visibility massively, makes it easier for different systems to talk to each other, interoperability, and just makes the whole chain more resilient.
And you mentioned something earlier about a people ROI, return on investment for the staff.
Yeah, that was another key finding. The system was apparently very easy to learn and use, minimal training needed.
Okay.
And crucially, it cuts down hugely on that repetitive physical work of manual scanning. Bending, lifting, pointing a scanner thousands of times a day.
I can imagine that gets tiring.
Right. So it frees up the warehouse staff to focus on more complex, maybe higher value tasks, which can lead to better job satisfaction, better productivity overall. It's a win for the workforce too.
Okay, so the tags and the tunnels do the physical reading, but making sense of all that data, coordinating it, catching those errors in real time, that needs some serious software, right?
Oh, absolutely. The software side was critical. They used kind of a dual architecture. First, there was the software provided by CCL. This basically simulated the local company system, like their warehouse management system or ERP. It was tightly linked to the RFID tunnel.
So it handled the immediate scanning action.
Yeah. Real-time on-site monitoring, validating scans as they happened, managing the aggregation when items were packed or disaggregation when they were unpacked. And it generated those crucial ePCIS files, the electronic event records.
Okay, so that's the local view. What was the second part?
The second piece was the Axia Observer platform. This was developed by the Axia Institute folks themselves. Think of it as an independent third-party centralized platform.
So sitting above the individual companies.
Exactly. It operates outside the scanning hardware and the local systems. Its job is oversight. It pulls in all the data, the ePCIS files, the scan events from all the partners.
Creating the big picture.
Precisely. Giving you cross-organizational transparency, end-to-end traceability. It's designed to be like a software as a service tool, connecting via standard APIs using things like ePCIS.
So one system is kind of managing the local action, and the Axia Observer is watching the whole movie unfold.
That's a perfect analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
And that observer platform, that's where the really powerful anomaly detection happens.
So that's what caught those 20 errors.
Primarily, yes. It provides real-time monitoring dashboards, showing product movement as it happens. You can even replay past events, like rewinding the tape to see exactly what occurred.
Useful for troubleshooting.
Definitely. And it's specifically designed to highlight errors and validate data across the different steps and partners. It can flag things like items showing up that weren't properly commissioned in the system to begin with, or mismatches, scanning a tote and finding items missing, or extra items compared to what the electronic record said should be in there.
Okay, so what kinds of specific anomalies can it actually detect?
Well, the report listed quite a few. Those aggregation errors missing, or extra tags, versus the expected contents, uncommissioned tags just appearing, products arriving at the wrong location entirely. Yeah. Or items being scanned as moved without the prior step happening, like it wasn't scanned as being unpacked first. Change tag IDs, duplicate serial numbers or case numbers. It's basically checking the digital integrity of the whole chain of custody.
That level of real-time cross-company error checking sounds incredibly valuable.
It really is. And the platform also offers visualization tools to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
There's like a high-level flow diagram, a Sankey diagram they called it, showing the overall movement between partners, potential bottlenecks, how things were packaged.
Kind of the 30,000-foot view.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's a much more detailed view, like a Git graph you might see in software development,
Yeah.
that tracks the journey of one single product, one SGTIN, showing every time it was aggregated, disaggregated, where it went, and highlighting any errors or anomalies associated specifically with that item.
Very granular. So the combined benefit of the RFID hardware and this kind of oversight software seems pretty clear.
Absolutely. It boosts efficiency dramatically by automating the tracking and, critically, catching those anomalies across different organizations almost instantly. Reduces manual work, gives you real-time location data, helps find bottlenecks, provides that complete history if there's ever a recall.
And stops misdirected products before they become a bigger issue.
Exactly. Stops them before they get way down the line and cause real problems.
This all sounds like it has some major implications for the business side, for the industry. Why should they really care about this pilot?
Well, one of the most immediate tangible benefits they highlighted is just streamlining the receiving process at a warehouse or pharmacy. Imagine getting a big shipment. Instead of having to crack open every case, pull out items, scan barcodes one by one, you just pass the sealed cases through an RFID tunnel. Boom. You instantly verify the contents against your purchase order data.
That sounds way faster.
Massively faster and more accurate. Big improvements in operational efficiency, inventory accuracy right off the bat.
And the partners involved, the ones who live this stuff daily, they saw the potential too.
Oh, definitely. There are some telling quotes in the report. Matt Sample, he's an SVP at Cencora, the wholesaler. He said RFID certainly shows promise, especially given some of the challenges with line-of-sight technology and barcode degradation that we're already seeing today.
So barcodes getting damaged or hard to read is already a thing.
Apparently so. And he talked about the potential for cost efficiency and accuracy, especially given Cencora handles like over 1 billion units a year.
Yeah.
Huge scale.
Wow.
He did note, though, that you need manufacturers to really adopt RFID tagging widely to get the full network benefit. But he also added, kind of pointedly, that if data issues continue or worsen with a current DSCSA system, the industry will have no choice but to turn towards RFID as a stepwise improvement.
That's a pretty strong signal about its potential necessity down the line.
It is. And then Gary Burns from CCL, the tech provider, he really hammered home the core finding. 100% accuracy at each point. Through real-time exception correction, he felt they achieved a truly validated chain of custody.
Making a secure supply chain achievable, basically.
That's what he said, yeah. A highly secure medication supply chain is now achievable.
So beyond just receiving, what other warehouse or pharmacy processes could this improve?
Well, think about those complex steps, like breaking down bulk shipments and repacking into specific patient or pharmacy orders, like they simulated with the mixed totes. Being able to quickly scan and verify items during those steps adds a huge layer of accuracy that's tough to get manually.
And it integrates with existing systems.
The pilot showed that potential, yes. The CCL software simulated how it could link into existing ERP or inventory management systems pretty seamlessly.
Now, there's one area where this seems particularly critical: controlled substances.
Absolutely. This is potentially a huge application. Having real-time item-level tracking of controlled substances, that's a powerful tool against drug diversion, theft or loss.
Helps with compliance, too, I imagine.
Greatly. Makes it easier to demonstrate chain of custody. The report even suggests that the detailed data from RFID could potentially help support DEA reporting, maybe going beyond what standard DSCSA data provides today.
And is this tech just for pharma, or could it apply elsewhere?
No, definitely broader potential. The report explicitly mentions that this kind of RFID ecosystem, the tags, the readers, the oversight software, could be really valuable in other complex supply chains. Like food traceability is a big one. Reducing costly human errors in manual tracking across many industries.
Okay, so phase 2 proved it works at scale. In the real world, big benefits. What's next? Where does the Axia project go from here?
Well, phase 3 is on the roadmap. The plan there is to bring in actual pharmacy systems and pharmacy staff.
Closing the loop further.
Exactly. Simulating things like dispensing medication, handling returns, managing reorders, trying to track items right down to that final step before the patient, potentially.
And just keep scaling it up. More complexity.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
The roadmap includes adding more types of partners, like third-party logistics providers, 3PLs, contract manufacturers, testing under different environmental conditions like temperature monitoring.
Like for cold chain drugs.
Right. Including more types of controlled substances, more packaging variations, basically moving towards full operationalization. That means integrating with live systems, building out sophisticated dashboards, and even exploring things like predictive analytics and using AI to spot anomalies even faster.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. If you had to distill it down, what's the core insight, the main takeaway from this whole deep dive into the Axia pilot?
I think the key takeaway is that this study provides really strong, practical evidence that RAIN, RFID, especially when you combine it with smart oversight software like that Axia Observer platform, it offers a way to track pharmaceuticals that is highly accurate, much more efficient, and significantly more secure.
More secure than just barcodes.
Yes. It clearly enhances what DSCSA requires today. And maybe the most critical part is that ability to catch and fix errors, basically as they happen, preventing those problems from cascading down the chain and impacting safety or availability.
And the so what for you listening in? Why does this matter? Well, this isn't just about tech jargon or warehouse efficiency numbers. This kind of technology is fundamentally about making sure that the medicine you or your family or your friends rely on is authentic.
That it's the real deal.
Yeah, that it hasn't been compromised, hasn't been swapped out, hasn't been sitting in the wrong temperature for hours, that it gets to the right pharmacy, the right hospital, the right patient at the right time. Reducing those errors, catching counterfeits. It saves money, sure, but more importantly, it can save lives.
It really can.
Yeah.
And it does make you think about the future, doesn't it?
It really does. So here's maybe a final thought to leave you with. Given these really impressive results, the clear benefits shown in a real-world setting, how quickly do you think we'll actually see widespread adoption of RFID across the entire pharmaceutical supply chain, from the factory floor all the way to the pharmacy shelf? And maybe what's the ultimate end game for traceability? Could we eventually track a specific pill or vial right up to the very moment it's administered to a patient on a hospital bed or handed over at the pharmacy counter? It sort of feels like that final frontier of traceability might actually be within the reach now.
Thank you for listening to this episode on the Axia Pharma end-to-end RFID pilot. We hope you found the insights on RFID technology both informative and inspiring. If you'd like to learn more or explore how these advancements can benefit your operations and the entire industry, reach out to the Axia Institute at axia.msu.edu or CCL eAgile at eAgile.com. Thank you.